get the most painful and brutal revenge she can, instead of making a deal with us, Sophia turns the empire of a stolen blaze into ashes, and she doesn't fall into the penguin trap. And then she doesn't take his mother away with just a bullet, but kills her for us and us for her by forcing them to remember the truth. After confronting them in Monroe's, she tells Oswald about his mother's intention to kill him after she found out what he did to his brothers, and led the rest of it to them, that one of them become a killer and another one become his or her victim, because she knows from her experience that we get the worst wounds from the closest people in our lives, from our families, wounds that penetrate from the body to the soul and cannot be cured. Sophia had suffered such a wound from her father after she found out what he had done. He set her up and sent her to the worst prison in Arkham for 10 years for no reason. Now wait a minute, there was a few reasons. He wanted to keep her mouth shut. He wanted to have somebody to blame, and he wanted to not to have to look in her eyes and see himself as he was. In this club, after not talking to Oswald for days, she was supposed to have her last dance with us, and after he kills her 2 sons, she was gonna hand her 3rd son over to Rex for trial. Of course, as always, Oz had escaped from this with the promises he made and using the words that the other person wants to hear. So instead of separating them with death, she lets them live, but they die for each other with the awareness and facing the truth again. You're dead for the only people who they've lived for. All the affection and love that Oz and Francis had for each other gradually disappear in this psychological game of Sophia. When suddenly, with Victor's plan and intelligence, everything changes and turns from one to another, and Link betrays Zhao instead of handing over Oz to Sophia. Oz retaliates everything by keeping her alive and return her to the prison from which she was released after 10 years. After all things he did, Oz hoped that his mother would regain consciousness, not remember anything because of her illness, and everything would be like before this confrontation with truth. But his mother is worsened when he took her to the hospital. Francis has had a stroke and she is left with only a soulless blank look in this world. This moment is very painful and decisive. He realizes that his lies and what he did to his brothers finally caught up to him. And finally, when it seems that he is reaching everything, he had lost everything, everyone who was important to him. He has no family. He doesn't feel the need to have a family anymore. For him, the pain and suffering of having a family isn't worth it. Victor calls him as his family at the worst possible time, and Oswald, who is tired of all things he's done and is sick of the word family, by killing Victor, avoids the weakness of having someone as family. So he'll avoid another injury from a member of his family. When he no longer has anyone, he becomes bulletproof by closing the openings of his love and affection, by killing his remaining possible weakness. With the deal he made with the counselor, he is finally going to meet the important people of Gotham. And on the other hand, he finally bought the penthouse he promised his mother. A penthouse that is empty and soulless like his mother's eyes when she is staring at the Gotham's eternal view. Maybe Francis, who was always looking for material things, now realizes the value and warmth of her small, cold home inside when her children were alive and when she was healthy. Oz started to fill his penthouse with a dance of false fantasies so that he can forget the hatred and regret in his penthouse and in himself for a few moments.